Yeah.
I just noticed there's no signature page on the back of this.
What's that?
There's no signature page on this, and this will be a signature page.
Yeah.
I just looked at it, let me go up and see.
Still current? Table shows.
So you're stalling.
I am.
Nicole will thank you.
Yeah, you will. Well, that's good, yeah. We think we started when we did, we'd be 6 years off. Exactly. I'll show you today.
Good, how are you?
Oh, not too bad.
Must be chilled.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah, he's.
Yes.
Get over me and
No, they said within 3 days.
Yeah, we were 2 weeks.
There's 3 days of
Mine was my
I
roots,
got a call in.
and I couldn't print it out.
So how
Because I went way back to nothing, and then I wanted to listen or
This
whatever,
is.
so I had to find another
I'm just gonna
way.
pass these out now together.
Okay.
Oh,
I know that you're not back in session.
Come to at least one.
Give you an opportunity.
After I had the
The signature page is upstairs being memorized because I didn't want you to have to be waiting for us. So the last page is missing.
Well, I was
It's
gonna
the number. Chantal was going to finish up.
I know you got some.
there you go.
He was very nice, it took.
We should have a meeting with the Northwest.
All right, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and then we actually.
You can sit here,
Then he put Kirk on one seat, so Kirk had
Ernest. That's okay, I know, I love having a jump chair, a first chair, you gotta have a spare chair. Yep.
Yeah.
And have to have your spares. I didn't realize I was sitting right.
Yeah. We just don't understand.
Pretty soon you'll see this like divide down the middle of the room, like nobody sits in the kitchen. Oh, that's funny.
It's so broad, there's just so many, just a few little things that you can touch on. It requires
There's one in that email. No signature page, so we just have to get it.
Can we copy one on the road?
Yeah.
That's probably good.
We can still vote.
We still vote, we'll just, we'll sign it.
I was just curious how that works.
So we'll re-adjourn the meeting, we're gonna take care of the COS here real quick before we get started, so, okay, Nicole.
Yes, certainly. So you have before you the Miller Family Transfer Survey. I have Mr. Miller here. He's transferring 20 acres to his son, not for a home site, for pasture land. It is greater than 20 acres, so if he did decide that he wanted to put a home on there, he could. And he would just have to work with our local sanitarian for on-site wastewater and well locations. So this is off of River Road, near Toston.
This looks pretty cut and dry. If I'm not too premature, I will move that we support the family transfer as presented for the Miller family.
And as I stated earlier, I left the signature page upstairs. Mr. Miller's signature, Chantal was finishing up some notary paperwork in her book, and I didn't want to hold you up. So if you don't mind signing that paper later, I don't see any reason why that wouldn't work, unless you do.
I don't personally.
Is your son jealous? Correct?
Joe's is our son, but
Yeah.
it's at the 40 acres in front of
And that's who you're transferring to?
that. How's that?
You're transferring to Gillis?
No, to Dennis,
Oh, to Dennis?
our youngest
Okay.
son. He's still living at home.
Okay. I'll second the motion.
Motion been made and seconded to approve the Miller family land transfer. Any further discussion?
I have a question.
Yes.
So, is this the one you emailed to me last week?
Correct.
Okay, so, I'm a little confused on the procedure. I thought for family transfers, they were gonna go to the committee. And I mean, I thought that was one that was specifically gonna not just be an email, it was gonna be a committee look at it.
Okay,
Everything got derailed last week with stuff we had in the criminal world, so I haven't even looked at it. I did not realize it was gonna be this fast. I thought procedure we talked about, I thought was, we'd go to the committee and we would do once a month or twice a month
Right.
for review, so I don't have any reason to suspect there's a problem with this, I just think this is our first one.
and I'm sorry, I thought we were only going to email. I didn't realize that we were going to be sitting down at a
I
table.
think we should
meeting,
clarify
so-
this, because I think if we're establishing a procedure, we're immediately departing from it. And I'm just concerned that we need to decide for sure how we're gonna do these. That would, for clarity for everybody.
I think,
Okay.
one, it should be in writing, what we're doing. Two, I agree with you, we talked about the very simple, easy ones being via email, so that we didn't hold up the process and hold up citizens. And then if there were any that needed more review, to have the committee meet for those. This one is very simple. There is nothing that would give pause to there's any kind of evasion going on. But I think everything needs to be reduced to in writing so that there is no confusion.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from here on out, I'd like to see them too, ahead of time. Personally, for me, I just wanna know ahead of time what we're doing.
So you want to be a part of the committee as well?
I would assume yes.
Oh, okay. But then, yes, we absolutely need to get something established, and I would like that to come from the commissioners.
I thought
For
we
you-
already established that.
I
didn't we?
Not
guess
in
my
writing.
understanding was that it was to be via email, like we've been doing previously. And if there were any concerns, the emails would be sent back, and that the committee was myself, Corey, and the sanitarian.
That is my recollection as well. I think we do need to talk about if it's going to be a larger committee, who's on it, and what the process is. But I'm not interested in something that holds up these very simple, straightforward ones. I think that would be a disservice. We do more in this county with these than others, and I like that, but it shouldn't be a disservice to the citizens.
So is there any further discussion?
I guess I would just, I agree, I don't wanna make this thing cumbersome, but my concern is that if I get this, I think I got it on a Tuesday or Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, I'm spending literally all day, all night on a death, and so that kind of turnaround time is not gonna work for me if I have some intervening thing that's gonna completely change basically take me away from being able to look at it, so. If you guys want me on the committee, which is fine, I think I need to know what those predictable timelines are. If it's something that's very simple, no big deal. I thought that family transfers, because of the new policy that was implemented this year, was one that was gonna require, even if it's simple, because it was gonna require everybody to look at it. So I do think clarity would help this process.
And obviously, something written, I think, coming from the commission, if you want this to be a new procedure. I would like to request something from the commission in writing, and also a timeline then, for how long do we have to review, how long does Corey have to review, myself and our sanitarian?
So any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same. Motion carries.
It's just, I just want to caveat, I haven't reviewed this at all, so if you're approving it, that's fine. I just want you to know, I'm not saying don't do it, I'm just saying, let's be clear.
Well, I think we need to get that policy right, and they didn't find that they didn't approve the waiver of not selling for 2 years, so
Okay.
we need to get a policy in writing for what we're gonna do.
Yes.
So,
Indeed. Thank you.
thank you. Okay,
Thank you, good luck.
so we will move on to the Silos Action Committee and Trust Board, continue to work for Silos Recreation Master Plan.
Before Al starts, Mr. Chairman, if you look at the paperwork from Al, it does state that Brian Obert is part of this committee. And I know we're not giving any money to MBAC, but I do want to read my statement of disclosure, just so that there's absolutely no question. There is no conflict of interest here between myself and MBAC or my husband. Statement of disclosure. There is no conflict of interest between my volunteer work for Broadwater County and citizens and my duty as a county commissioner. My involvement with my community is comparable to other county commissioners throughout Montana. I receive no personal monetary gain from working with Broadwater County Development Corporation, Townsend Area, Chamber of Commerce Auxiliary, Rotary, Montana Board of Crime Control, Youth Justice Council, Area 4 Agency on Aging, County Board of Printing, or any other organization that offers services to the citizens of Broadwater County. I do not own a business or such property. I do not rent or lease any property or assets to any business. The best way to be an effective county commissioner is to be involved. Montana Association of Counties, MACO, has committees that support this work: Economic Development Committee, Health and Human Services Committee, among others. MCA 7-6-2527 and MCA 90-5-112 support commissioners' involvement. My husband is Executive Director of Montana Business Assistance Connection, MBAC. MBAC is Broadwater County's Certified Regional Development Corporation, CRDC, and our federal Economic Development Agency, EDA, and has been since 2004. In fact, Broadwater County has been involved with and complied with the Public Works and Economic Development Act of 1965. Broadwater County contributes an annual equivalent to receive services by both EDA and CRDC as is required for that assistance. That equates to less than 3%, I think it's 1% now, of MBAC's operating budget. And it is not paid to Brian Obert. MBAC derives its funding from many sources, including EDA, CRDC, interest-bearing revolving loan funds, grants, state contracts, and membership from local businesses and governments, cities, and counties, including Lewis and Clark County, Marr County, Augusta, East Helena, Lincoln, Townsend, and White Sulphur Springs. But the benefits to Broadwater County are far more than the $1 million. There is no conflict of interest. So thank you for your indulgence, Al.
Ready?
Mr. Chairman and Commissioners, thank you for empowering our local citizens group to work towards improving the, what I call very popular and highly used recreation site of Broadwater County, the Silos Recreation Area. Today, part of our group is here, Bob Hollister, Richard Tramp, and then our other partner from the Bureau of Reclamation, Dan Stremka. So I thank them for being here. So if we get any questions, they can help with the answers. The packet that you had contains a request letter. There's also a Silos, what we call a Silos information letter, which kind of gives some of the background about the site out there. What we call a public input document. It's a more compact list of the kinds of things we've heard about as we've been working on this for the past almost 4 years now. There's also a vicinity map for people that don't know where the silos is, but it helps. Because we're using the same package for a lot of other areas, so it helps. There's also a Fishwild Park research document there, 3 pages, that talks about economic impact of the waterways, reservoirs, rivers, and their economic impact to the state and to this area. So it's, and that's pretty significant. And there's a couple of concept maps attached, that's the colored maps, that came from the framework plan, which was done, finished in April of 2018. And you guys, you got a copy of that through that contract. And you guys know this, but you know, you hold a partnership agreement with the Bureau of Reclamation for the management of the Silos Recreation Area, which is the campground and the boat launches. It does not include the 2-day use areas out there. Excavation and development of Broadwater Bay was done through the federal legislation that was signed dealing with the whole cabin sales on Canyon Ferry Lake. That legislation actually said there was going to be $500,000 spent to excavate Broadwater Bay and put the boat ramp in. So that was a given. That action has been very, very successful. If you've been out there and seen it, you know, a lot of times there's 8-10 boats lined up trying to get into the water, and there'll be a bunch of flotilla out in the bay trying to get out. So the parking lot is full. You'll easily find 125 to 175 trucks, trailers parked in there on a weekend, and 30, 40 campers in the campground. And that use has provided recreational access, fishing access to Canyon Ferry Lake and to the campground. So it's been a big asset. Heavily used. Consequence of that is the place is starting to show wear and tear. It's hard to keep people parking in the right places, using the right facilities the right way. Also, the kinds of users that have come since that was done in 2005 has changed. If you think back 2005, what fishing boats were. They're not what they are today. They weren't as big, they weren't as heavy. The camping arena has all changed. The RV stuff has all changed in the past 10, 15 years. And the vehicles that take them there. I mean, you just look down there at the kinds of rigs coming in, and it's different. Our group got together and we asked the BOR, we asked the Corps of Engineers, and we asked you folks, do you mind if we get active and start trying to make some things happen down here? Everybody said, yes, go ahead, take off, go do it. So that's what we've been doing now for almost 4 years. And a lot of it talks about the improvements that need to happen out there. There's a lot of safety issues, there's a lot of health issues out there, there's ADA compliance issues all over the place out there that need to be fixed. And these are things that, if they're not fixed, are going to catch us someday. Unfortunately, it'll catch us. But what we don't want to do is we don't want to repeat what happened to Goose Bay. We don't want to see a campground closed. We don't want to see that kind of disruption. So we've talked all the way through this about how this has got to be a phased effort to do the improvement work one step at a time to get to the end. But we don't want to close a campground, displace people all the time. And there's a lot of work out there that can happen without that. 2017, we worked to get a grant set up, and several local sources, including the county, BCDC, and MBAC, all put money in to do a framework plan, and that's the one I showed you. So that took a postcard survey. It took a Survey Monkey, yes. And a lot of public meetings. We conducted a lot of interviews of users on the site. We talked to people, we put a booth up at the fairgrounds, we talked, everybody we talked to. We go down and just walk into the boat ramp and talk to people about what do you like, what do you don't like, what are your issues, what are your thoughts? All those kind of things. And so we started trying to work down a line of getting a plan done for the place. And one of the first things we found out without the plan is that the BOR can't be successful in trying to get funding to do work on a site they don't have an approved master plan for. Now, there was some thinking that there was a master plan done when they did the bay. There was a map produced, there were some public meetings, but a master plan was never produced and has never been signed off and approved. Correct? BOR can't find it, we can't find it. Everybody that says that, I keep asking them, I said, so show me. Nobody has produced such a document, such a plan. So at this point, we just have to say, it doesn't exist, we gotta get it. And even if it did, it probably needs to really be updated to today's standards anyway. So a consultant was hired that started what was called a phase 1 to get into the planning process. They collected all that information. They conducted 3 public meetings here in the county, trying to get people's input on what they wanted to see, what they liked, and all that kind of stuff. The consultant has a national experience. I mean, we were really overwhelmed with their experience. They do this all across the nation. They've done things down in Arizona and Nevada, southern Utah, those huge big reservoirs there with the BOR and Forest Service. And so we got a really high quality staff working on this. So they did the framework plan. And so we just pulled out the concept maps that they did. And the concept maps are only from the standpoint of showing the kinds of things that could be done out there. They picked some spots and showed them. Those aren't necessarily the spots where things really should be or need to be. And then a year ago, we made contact with the MSU, and they had a landscape design class that had 6 seniors in it. Those senior students came over and spent 3 months working through all the information that we could provide them. They looked at all the things they learned about recreation. They looked all across the country, and they put some conceptual ideas of more specifics about how you could do things at the silos out there and make it a better place. They did that for nothing. That was their senior class project. They just did that. Also in your packet is the Fish, Wildlife, and Parks economic research that they have compiled for their Upper Missouri fisheries plans here. And the interesting thing about that is it shows the economic impact of Canyon Ferry Lake, section of river from here up to Toston. And you can tie that then with the kind of use that comes out of the silos area that goes into Canyon Ferry Lake. Canyon Ferry Lake is attributed to $14.1 million in economic activity. And the stretch of river from here up to Toston is just under $1 million. So collectively, $15 million in economic activity annually attributed to this section of water. Silos Recreation Area contributes significantly to that level of use. Now the interesting part about that is that does not include, that's only, you walk out the door, you buy breakfast, you buy groceries, you buy lunch, you buy worms, you buy tackle, get some new line, buy fishing pole. Does not include the economic activity divided or around boats, campers, RVs, trucks, trailers. All the kind of stuff that you see using that place down there doesn't include any of that. So it's just the daily economic activity of going and using this site, or these pieces of water. So the BOR has said, look, we've got to have an approved master plan. So we said we would help do that. We would help get that started. And so that would provide for site design, layout, what goes where, what facilities would look like, general design, in other words, the road templates, gazebos, those kind of things that have a lot of general design to them. If somebody wanted to make some adjustment, they'd have to have that design work done, but the master plan ought to cover most of that. And so that then the BOR, when people come to them and ask them to do some work out there or to make something, or they're putting in for grants, we know where that stuff's gonna go. Part of the issue's been out there, people have wanted to do things in various places, and you step back and you go, wait a minute, is that where that really should go? Is that where, in 10 years or 5 years, is that where that needs to be? We can't ever answer that question, so that's why we need this master plan. The other thing the master plan will do will be to show the phased work and how it'll be done so we can keep the site open. You know, conceptually, we talk about, you know, one of the loops. We close one of the loops, rebuild that, get that one done, go to the next one. We have to stage things knowing that we need, if we're gonna put trees out there, we gotta have a water system. If you want power in the loops, you gotta put power. Where does it connect, where does it disconnect? Those kind of things. So it'll be all laid out. The other thing that having that plan does is not only it allows any entity to go after grants and try and raise money to do work out there, but I think it opens the door then for a lot of community activity. So you got Eagle Scouts that are always looking for places to do their community work. You got all kinds of social groups that are always looking for places to do work. And a good plan would have lots of opportunities to do things like that are not the big construction items. Big construction items are still gonna fall back towards the Bureau. I mean, frankly, that's where those are gonna have to come from. Tree board, we've talked to them. They're ready to do work out there, but they don't have money or anything, you know, other than what they get for their tree board. So, groups like that. The Walleyes, groups have been doing work out there. They want to do more work. Trout Unlimited, people that support ADA work. There'll be opportunities for them to do things out there. I know people are looking at bike paths and trails and hiking paths and all that stuff. There are groups that will jump in and help do those kind of things. So I think it really opens up the door for a lot of community activity. And of course, as you know, we've been working basically on behalf of you and the BOR, trying to find funding sources and bring things together to get this master plan set up. And BCDC has agreed to be our fiscal agent, so as we get commitments or donations from private parties, they will hold that money as a fiscal agent and make it available when we all need it. So far, the BOR has agreed to put up $45,000 of an estimated cost of $90 to do the plan. We've got a lot of outreaches out. This is a busy week for us. We've got meetings 2 or 3 times here almost every day this week, talking to people. We've got several mailers out. We've had responses on a couple of them. People are interested. And so we'll have to see where that goes. So the request letter that we gave you was for $15,000. Figured, well, that's a third of what has to be matched with these guys. But that's for you guys to decide, not us. And so we've gone to I think most of the other groups around town that we know can support us, and we've asked for monetary donations, and if they can't do them, we've asked for letters of support. So we're collecting all that because as we move down the road further and further, I think you guys will want to know what kind of support we've been able to garner in the county, in the state, because some of these are not county entities, and see what kind of support's out there and get things done. That's why we call ourselves a Citizens Action Group. We're not a citizen support group or anything like that. We're trying to make things happen. So this is the step we have to go through to make things happen. Just to make this happen first, then the door gets opened up for all the rest of the stuff. So I don't know, Bob, Richard, Dan, anything from you guys? Okay,
Pretty well covered it. Other than that, BOR money, that has to be matched, dollar for dollar.
yeah,
So my question is what happens if you don't meet your match?
then you don't get his money.
The money will just go back into the general, it's actually federal highways.
Yeah. And the next time he asks for it, he's gonna go through hell trying to convince him that it's a good deal to do that, so.
Because essentially we would have turned it down.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you guys are the partners. We're working on both of your behalves. They've already put in, we're asking you to put in, and we're asking a whole lot of other people to put in. So, we don't know where all that's gonna go yet. We're pretty confident that we'll be able to fill the hole, but, so,
If you only get 30, does the BOR still commit 30, or you have to absolutely match the 45?
Our funding is the 45, so yes. And that's the master plan is, they came up with 90, so that would be,
and that was based on a draft statement of work from the consultant that said this is what it would be. They have a list of some other things that could happen. I mean, if, you know, we've got donors out there that conceivably walk in and just write a check. But whether they do that or not is something else. But then there are some other things we could actually add on to get further down into the weeds for the construction stuff. So that's where we're at. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. If you got questions, ask these guys.
I think we would,
For
we
Dan.
would expect a plan,
Yeah.
if we did it, we would expect the plan to be done by getting that money.
Okay.
And it's through the federal lands.
Is there a time frame on this, when you wanna have this completed?
They have to have the signed document completed before October 1st. I don't know if you've got a drop dead date before that, to
October?
commit this year's money
Okay.
out of their budget.
So I'm looking beyond the master plan. Dan, what is the BOR's vision for this area?
With the contract that we have with you guys, I mean, it talks about anything that's done there would run through us as far as construction. We would review any of the plans and stuff, but I think going through a phased approach like they talked about and trying to develop that. There's other, you know, I think right now they're using flat money to pave a road. We can keep looking at that same stuff to try to, the Goose Bay Road is gonna be paved eventually.
Right.
With that funding, and there's other funding like that that we can start looking at, but without a plan, I kinda go to them saying, well,
Right.
give me the money, and they're saying what for, you know,
Sure.
so.
Do you think that there's a feeling in the Bureau that there's a level of commitment to this if this was to go forward? Yeah.
That's a question we get from a lot of people we've talked to, you
Right.
know, so what does this lead to, what's next? And we just say, well, you gotta get into the design and construction, that's the bigger money stuff.
So let me ask this question, if Broadwater County is still not a managing partner, would the Bureau still want to move forward?
I think we would, it'd probably take a lot longer for
Yeah.
us to do it. So, probably my fair state.
Dan, can you talk a little bit about that managing partner, how it works and why it's a benefit for the county? There are some who don't think we should be involved in all, and there are some who feel it's an absolute asset that we are. Could you speak to that a little bit so that we have maybe a balance of information?
You know, I'd have to look back at the contract a little bit more, but you know, I think for me to do a lot of this work I have to get appropriations to do it. And with our budget, you know, sometimes that's just not gonna happen. And so it's either gonna be that or it's gonna be out years. We'd have to go through what we call RACS projects. It puts money, you know, we identify projects that need to be done, but then it goes into what they call into the RACS system, and that's money that we try to get that's extra as well to do projects. And that's where I'm looking at some of this stuff, there might be some opportunities there, I can start putting that in, it might be out years, but, I think the managing partner thing helps me, or helps you guys, everybody, kinda get some other grants and stuff that we can't apply for, but you guys could as a managing partner. I don't know if that helps. So I think it's a good deal, I think it really is, it would be nice to, keep doing that. I think eventually, if you do get it built up, it could be, there's gonna be more people using it, more people using the community, just like Al was saying earlier about the money that's brought into the county.
So Al, these people that you're requesting donation from, are they going to, you get this master plan in place, where's the funding coming for the improvements?
That's all the kinds of things that Dan's talking about. What our experience is that without having an approved master plan, there are so many grants that we can't even apply for, or we being collectively, because people won't fund work if you can't show them how it fits in the scheme of things. And so we know without it, it's gonna rely on whatever you guys in the BOR can come up with to do some kind of improvement work. The grant stuff is, and a lot of times, their stuff is easy to match if it's not a federal grant. So there's just we were looking at a grant one day that had to deal with how many boats do you have at the docks that are over 24 feet long? And I was like, we don't have any of those. Well, you gotta go down and look, because there are some. And so it's that kind of stuff that without having the plan in place, most of these people won't even talk to you. The other thing that we've encountered is that if you go in and talk about trying to put money into a plan, a master plan, like, yeah, they don't do that. You guys gotta get your plan done by yourselves. And so it's like it's the last hurdle on the racetrack, but it's also a foot higher than all the rest. Because it's not just getting over the hurdle, but this one is a little harder because a lot of entities don't want to fund planning. I understand that. But on the other side of it, if you don't have a plan, then you don't get money to do work because they don't know that it's the right work in the right place. So it's a kind of a catch.
Are there organizations there that have made a commitment that once you get a plan, they will contribute? Or do you still have to go through the entire process?
Well, I went to the Upper Missouri River Walleyes Group, I did your tramp. Anyway, they're gonna send us a check now for 500 and a letter of support, but they're looking at upwards of 5,000. But they want the plan, they know it's gotta be done first. And they've done work there in that campground, the other walleye groups, we've been putting up shelters and doing work there. And it's kinda on hold right now because we don't have the master plan. And once we have that, that'll proceed. But I did contact Northwest Energy and we're gonna meet with them this week. They've got a couple of options, their budget's immense, so I don't know what's gonna come of it, but they're excited about coming. And then I've already sent in a package to Town Pump as well. And I've contacted Rail Link, but I haven't heard back from them yet. So I know I expect something coming.
But a lot of them have made the statement of, yeah, okay, but, we want to know what kind of support you might want from us in the future. And it's like, well, we don't know the magnitude, but obviously if we get through the plan and get that all done, then we're going to be talking about development, and that's when we'll need more support.
Well, I guess that's kind of where I want to know what kind of support you're going to need in the future, because I don't see the county continually pouring money into this thing. Number one, we don't really have it in the budget. Number two is, you know, you got all these numbers from the Fish and Wildlife and Parks, but the problem is those numbers are money spent not in Townsend.
Right.
95% of those people that come to that lake, they pull their camper and they've got everything they need in there. When they get to the lake, the only, next time they go is when they leave, and they're not buying anything here. There's a huge impact there in statewide, but that impact is not in Broadwater County.
Part of that is out of the KOA also. That portion is in Broadwater County, the KOA down there. They receive a.
Well, and I understand, but what I'm saying is the people that you have staying in this facility
Right.
are not spending money in Broadwater County. True, they're
No,
spending it in the state, but the majority of those people, when they come out here to go to that lake, they already have everything they want. When they get to the lake, they're done.
Some of the early reports had license plate information in them, and a huge percentage of the users were County 43 users. So they were local people coming out there, so obviously, I mean, they're buying stuff here to go out there. And you're right, to a large degree, most people are, if they've got an RV, they're packed when they come through. But, you know, they still gotta stop and get gas, they might get ice. They come into town at night to go to the grocery store, to the bar, or whatever. So it's not like nobody does it. I'm sure that if you took all that out of here, there would be a heck of a hole left. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know that. I just know what they put in their survey that did not include the largest Lund boat dealer in the Northwest, which is right down the street. So you know these guys are having a huge impact from this area here. So it's still there. We could sit and debate this all the time because we don't do the research and have the numbers, but there's effect there.
Is there any data available on where those people are from that are using that campground?
The
There's
data
no way to
came from
collect
the
that
users.
data.
The data came from the users. The Fish and Game uses like their Creel surveys. So they know out-of-staters, in-staters, and my understanding is they ask them, you know, kind of like, well, how many days did you spend here? How many days did it take you to get here? You know, if they jumped on a plane in Texas this morning and flew up here, the non-resident numbers are like $400 a day compared to a resident, which is like 80.
But I'm talking Broadwater County residents versus state residents.
It's just residents.
I don't think we have numbers.
Yeah.
That might be with the concessionaire though, if they're not renting that, are they collecting any of that data, do you know? I don't know.
I think they would have some, because I believe they get the license plate numbers, but of course with specialized plates, you don't always have it.
True.
But if you do just drive through, like you were saying, Al, pick a loop, pick the parking lot with the big trailers, you see a lot of 43s. You also see a lot of 6s and 3s,
Mhm.
but, yeah, there's a lot of 43s out there.
And Butte.
And Butte,
Good
yeah,
calls.
yeah.
So we know that, we know that economics is how finite it is, you know. The stuff that you got is like, it's statewide, I mean, it's residents versus non-residents. So we've gone to BCDC, Chamber of Commerce, City of Townsend, the Rec Board has a proposal, and the Trust Board has a proposal. So that's kind of the in-town partnership stuff. We've had discussions, I believe, with Brian out here,
Yep,
Mhm.
yep.
so.
He's interested, he wants to see a plan.
Yeah.
But Townsend Marine, you know, to go from what they were to where they are, you can ask Brian why. And it's because of the activity up here. So, I don't know. He's got quite a staff.
Question for you, Al, you said that BCDC is the fiscal agent.
Mhm.
So, the trust board authorized a master plan for the fairgrounds.
Mhm.
And with the talk we've had about standards, equity, if the trust board was to fund this match with BOR, under the same idea that they are funding the master plan for the fairgrounds, the money that has been pledged or that you're collecting, could BCDC hold that as a match for a grant that we would then qualify for after the master plan?
No, I would think so. I mean, they did, to my knowledge, they didn't say that they would just hold money for the master plan. They said they would be our agency. So. Yeah, BCDC will hold it for whatever we need it for, whatever you need it for.
So we could start a nest egg for dredging, for the safety elements with the camping and the
Yeah.
thoroughfare.
Exactly.
Okay,
And the statement of work that I think Dan has the draft of, has a list of 4 or 5 more items that they didn't include, just because it was like, well, it's kind of the half step between getting the master plan done with all that stuff and getting into the design stuff. So like soil inventory and those kind of things have to be done before you can build roads.
sure. You know, when you talk about the $15 million in economic activity, and you compare that to the fact that our total valuation is 16 million, that's a significant number.
And that number is just what's attributed to Canyon Ferry and the river between here and Toston. The whole chain of lakes and stuff, I think, was 35 or 36 million. So that's all other stuff.
Sure.
So people here that go down there, part of that stuff.
Yeah. Well, what do you guys think about maybe putting a letter together for the trust board and asking them to fund the master plan? And then a second letter to the group asking them to continue soliciting support and funds for the first project, instead of all of this going to the master plan.
I think I'd be in favor of the trust board funding it. I have a hard time. It just seems to me that we're sticking our neck out for a lot of stuff and we don't get a whole lot out of it. Well, so Dan, what happens if say Broadwater County just decides we don't wanna be a managing partner in that facility?
It would have to come back to us, and then we would probably look at some kind of a concessionaire of that site. And run it like we do.
So would that end up looking like Goose Bay then, or would it be?
Concessionaire wise, yeah.
What about facility wise?
Again, it'd probably stay roughly the same until we could start putting funding into it.
So one of the things that, if we're gonna have this conversation that we need to put out there on the table for everybody to be aware of and to engage the public is, why did we work with you guys, the trust board, lead this, to acquire the softball field, the golf course, the, what used to be the Fore Farm, and the Run Gun Club? We acquired those because we wanted to have local control of those properties and those recreation opportunities. We have that right now with our partnership with BOR for the silos. We have more opportunities for grants that BOR doesn't have access to because of our partnership, that we have citizens who stepped forward and volunteered to help us with. Why would we want to not have this partnership with the citizens, with BOR, not have the local ability to have a voice in silos? Seems to me that this is a great opportunity for the county, and it is a strong economic impact for our county. And then you talk about recreation and health benefits with that. The silos touches our county in so many positive ways. I would be very reluctant to want to go that direction, but I certainly think we'd want to engage the citizens and ask them what they think. But if you guys are good with a letter to the trust board, I'd be happy to draft something and,
I think that's the
Go
way
that
to-
direction?
I think that's the direction to go for right now.
okay, and then also if you guys are good with a secondary letter to our group,
Support them.
yep, and support starting a nest egg with BCDC for a match down the road.
Sure.
Okay, Mike, you good with all that?
Yeah, I'd be good.
All right.
Do we wanna make that a formal motion then?
Sure, I move that we draft a letter to the trust board requesting that by precedent, they fund this master plan, like the fairgrounds master plan, and that we send a secondary letter of support to the Canyon Ferry Group, the CAGSRA, Citizens Action Group for the Silos Recreation Area, encouraging their work, thanking them for their work, and using the matches by the different groups as a nest egg for future grants that can be realized after the master plan is finished.
Is there a second?
Yeah, question on that though, if, they could still use that money that they raise from their support to match the DOR grant if they want to, right?
Yeah, we
If-
can
if,
come
say, I'm
back to
just-
that.
I guess I'm just saying if the trust board decides not to fund it.
I think we would have to come back to that. Again, it goes to the standards discussion that we have. You set a standard so that things are equitable, so you don't say yes to you and no to you because of a personality issue. I think we'd have to come back and talk about that.
Okay.
But yeah, I do think if the trust board were to say no, then I think it falls on us and this group to match that $45,000 so that we're not dead in the water as far as being able to move the silos forward. We do have safety issues. John Hedstrom brought that out on behalf of the search and rescue in multiple meetings. And we're also going to have an issue if we don't get some dredging done. So, you know, I know there's another list, but those are the two that are top on mine personally. So, yeah, we can maybe have a follow-up discussion if we have to, but I agree with you, Daryl. If the trust board says no, after discussion, I think we have to say yes.
I just want to give these guys some kind of option.
Yeah.
So just a clarifying question for going down the road. So if we got some donations in, some commitments, that under the funding, I mean, it's between county and DOR, that I guess maybe we could add some of that, it would be, continue to be a match over and above the minimum required. But it could, like I said, there are several things that could still be done under the master plan deal that I don't think are funded under the stuff you got, right? And so those could be additive if we got some additional funding to do that, rather than say, well, you gotta wait till we actually get to doing some development work, because I think some people are willing to put some in.
So I'll amend my motion to also include a conversation with you guys for additional master plan work, if desired.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Dan, if if there's a, if we get this money to match this and then there's an overabundance of donations, can we put pressure on the BOR to come back and match that excess fund?
No. We won't, I mean, this is through a grant thing through federal highways, that's what they gave me, that's it. At this point, this year. You know, that comes out every year, so we could go back and ask, you know, for other funding later that you could use whatever you develop to match, but like I say, with the flap, I think you're matching to 13% on that. I mean, it could be used for something like that, for roadways in there, stuff like that. That money could be used for that, we could, you know, apply for those grants, like you did, but again, they take a little while to get done, but we could at least start it.
Maybe they can fund the highway so nobody gets killed going to the lake.
Yeah.
So I guess if there's any public discussion for Cory?
I just have a question. I never was aware of this issue. And I'm not clear on how involved BCDC is in this. Sounds like they're fairly involved. So I guess I would just, if Commissioner Obert, if you're still a member of the board of BCDC, I would recommend you recuse yourself from this.
BCDC is only holding the money. We are not giving any money to BCDC. I would be happy to recuse myself from it, although I do not think that is necessary. BCDC is only holding, they're the fiscal agent. We're not giving them any money. This is going to BOR as a match, but we have to have an entity to hold it. But yeah, I'd be happy to recuse myself. Because I don't think it's necessary to have that particular fight.
So it might make sense to have another commissioner make the motion that you made and do the letter, be my recommendation.
Sure, I will, I'll remove my motion.
I will make the motion as stated.
I'll second the motion as long as we have that understanding that we will continue the discussion later.
Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, same.
And I am abstaining, although there is no conflict of interest and no money being paid to BCDC
Motion
or
carries.
on that.
Motion carries. Thank you all.
Thank you, commissioners,
Thank you,
very much.
gentlemen.
We appreciate the discussion, and we're busy.
All right, good luck with your project.
Thank you.
Dan, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank the Bureau for
Yeah.
helping.
We'll keep going.
Yeah, you better.
There's the copy of that document for Ann. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We go to our 11:45, adopt collective bargaining agreement for the sheriff's office.
Here's the original bargaining agreement for the public safety office.
Does that have a signature page?
Yes. And this is the participation agreement supplement for bargaining employees and the supplement participation agreement for non-bargaining.
So we will have a motion to approve the collective bargaining agreement between the Broadwater County Sheriff's Office and Teamsters Local Union Number 2.
All right, Cory, so did you get a chance to review the final?
I received it from the commissioner. I have not had a chance to review it at all. I did call the sheriff and ask if he was coming. He's at a MACO meeting somewhere, and asked if he had seen it and was gonna sign it. He said he hasn't seen it, so he can't commit to signing or approving it this time. So he asked me to advise the commission of that. So that's where I'm at right now. Due to the labor practice issue that I recused myself from, I know you did this with the assistance of an outside attorney, so I've not been involved in this one. I did look at the insurance participation agreement from Debbie. As long as that one date issue was fixed, that thing's good to go.